Welcome to the Dope and Tape Show. Today is gonna be exciting. So we have um, we have a miner coming on, and when I say miner, is a fire protection miner, as in he's hanging the pipe down in the mine, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's crazy just to even think about it. Me and Bobby, we have so many questions about this. I mean, it's unreal for us. And then we also had Dawn up in Canada. She is working for Victolic, but at the time she was a fitter down there, and she was helping out over there, and it's nuts. Once she said minor, me and Bobby were like, we got to know more. I mean, we got to know more. And we have all here, and we really appreciate you guys and coming to the live stream, watching us again, watching us on Twitch and well, I guess listening on Twitch and listening on Spotify and iTunes. So it's free to come on. You can come on. You just let us know. You can email us, message us on any of the platforms. I'm pretty heavy on LinkedIn, and then I believe Bobby gets on there every day, don't you? Right?
I'm on
Don't you
LinkedIn
do?
every day. Yeah, I'm switching between
Yeah,
mine
and then
and ours.
definitely Instagram. That's where the kind of it seems like the community is growing. Is real big on Instagram, so you can message us on any of those platforms. If you would like to sponsor us, let us know. We would like to get that started. Uh, it would really make traveling a lot easier than you know saving up of our own money and trying to make it work and just be really easy to make that happen with open tape and give you videos like we did on YouTube with Vegas, like it show you what's new and explain it because before us, I mean, there's not much out there,
It's
not
not much.
much.
Yeah, sponsor an episode. It'll be awesome. We'll run your commercial at the beginning of the show. Everybody,
So I
thanks for
said that to
joining.
say, hey Paul, how's it going? Can you hear
Hey,
us?
it's all right, man.
Yeah,
I made it against all.
sweet
You
hat.
know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
like the hat, bro. Yeah, Paul was
Oh,
having trouble joining. We're a few minutes late. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like button. Nice night out
oh,
there,
there
huh,
you are.
Paul?
Okay.
Oh, there you go. I see
Yeah,
you.
it's dark. I'm set up in my out in front.
So you do you
Oh,
know we lose him?
no,
Hey, he's
he's
back.
here.
All
Uh,
right.
There you
yeah,
are.
So do you
We
I
lost you
know
for
work.
a
do you
second.
know Don? You know Don at Big Color?
Pardon?
Do you know Dawn and Victolic? Because you came around about the same time that we interviewed her, and she said she worked down in the mines as well.
Yeah, I did not. I didn't work with her. I've really been on my own from the beginning. Really, I mean, when I started at Pillar. Many years ago. Like I said, I just wanted to be in the coal mine, and we had some family junk going on at the time, and the steel mills would shut down. And I was used to working shutdown work at paper mills and doing pipe fitting and that kind of thing. And shutdown work is it's like there's a mill that needs revamped, the plumbing or a lot of the machinery has to change out. So I was doing that for a few years, working on the road, and then so at Pillar we had to work on the road, so we had to go into the coal mines, and it's fire suppression. On another level. It's really odd, and I'm only realizing that now, even talking with y'all, because I don't know anything else. I started suppression in the coal mine, and uh, I work for a big company. Beitzel Corporation is the parent company of Pillar Innovations, and Pillar, what we do is support the energy industry. So we do fire suppression on battery barns, windmills. The windmills got battery barns on top of a mountain, and it's always me. Sometimes I'll get another uh I'll get another heavy another journeyman like myself, and we'll go out there and we fan test the battery barns, We use clean agent in those battery barns, and it just there's so much involved in fire protection in all kind of different ways. Like you do fan testing on, you put the containers. They're like the containers you see on the ships that come. You know, them steel containers. Everybody's making.
Right, right.
Oh, Connex, big Connex box.
Yeah, big Connex boxes, right? And they're populated with lithium-ion batteries. So when you go in the little door, there's rows of batteries on your left, and then you go down and it zig and zag through there, and then there's these little lithium-ion batteries that when the windmill generates power, it feeds those batteries. So it's not directly connected to the grid. And when you get up on top of a mountain, there's just they level the top of the mountain, and there's maybe a 30, 40, 100 of these Connex boxes filled with batteries. And we have to go through there over a week or so. Sometimes it takes a little longer. And you got to fan test them. You got to check them for leaks. You can't have, when you're using clean agent, you can't have any kind of leaks. And what you find is when they'll cut the holes for the conduit to the pan, they'll cut it with a torch, and it's never good. So it's not a good seal around your 2-inch conduit coming up through the steel.
So are you putting sprinklers in these boxes?
No, it's clean agent. I don't think it's any
Oh, clean engine. Yeah, you said that.
The clean agent stuff is for the windmills and electronics, and we even did like in up in Grantsville, Maryland, at the Wisp ski resort. They have these huge pumps that that pump the snow, that pump the fluid up the mountain, and they're enormous, and they take a lot of power. Anywhere there's a lot of power, that's the same as a coal mine. Uh, which the coal mine was my meat and potatoes. That's what takes up most of the time. But the strange thing about coal mining business, man, is it's the same as working shutdown. They only close the mine from midnight Saturday night to midnight Sunday. So you only have 24 hours to do anything in the coal mine. They will not shut the belt down, even if you're on it. Comes midnight at Sunday midnight, they will turn that belt on and they'll throw coal on you if you ain't out of there. So
whoa.
you and your crew, you only have 24 hours to run all your sprinklers, put up, and it's all we have to at the factory in Grantsville. You have to pre-assemble a lot of the brackets that go on the belt because the belt or sprinkler heads, they cover the motors that turn the belt, and they're huge motors. I mean, they're huge. They're big as an RV. I mean, they're some of them motors is just enormous. And the power center's got to have the power that runs all this is a giant power center transformer that is in the crosscut, and it's those need the power centers need covered, and also the belt within 300 feet of the motors and the bearings. So wherever you have the motors turning the belt, and the rollers will get hot and they catch on fire. And there's other aspects to it also, not just running your sprinklers, supplied in your sprinklers, but there's an FDC connection at every other crosscut, which is 160 feet through the coal mine, and
Oh,
sometimes they go for
bastard.
miles. So you got to tap in a connection uh, at all those. So you got to lock and tag out your valves. You got to shut the water down, and you cannot shut the water down because if you shut the water down, you can't mine coal. You can't mine coal without water because the actual
So
miner,
where does
as
the water come from? Are you bringing it at the top and then coming down?
oh yeah, the main water comes from a reservoir up top, but on the top side, and it comes down usually on a 12 or 16-inch aluminum uh piping, and
How far down?
they're grooved.
How far
Oh,
down is it
some of them are
going?
1,500, 2,500
So
feet,
what kind of
something
pressure
like
do you
that.
what kind of pressure do you have on a pipe like that that's going way down?
1,500, 1,800 psi,
What?
and the volume is, yes, sir. That's why your valves have to be all locked and tagged out. Uh, you got
You
to
say
lock it and tag it.
1800?
It's really dangerous. When you're now once we got these giant pressure reducing valves. The PRVs in there are the size of a Volkswagen motor, and they're like they reduce them down from an 8 inch. You reduce it down to your 2 inch uh, Vic groove pipe, a steel groove pipe, and you come out of the PRV and it reduces it to 200 psi. That's what your fire
So this
suppression
is
run.
like your master case relief valve that the water's coming into, and then it's reducing it to very high pressure down to like what, about 175, the typical
Yeah,
setting?
175, 200 max. You know, it's
Right,
same as I, in a warehouse, in a hospital, in a hotel. You got to have that 200 psi rating. You know, but
right.
those you can't those pressure reducing valves. You have to reduce the pressure in there off of the main water line so you can work with it. You can't work with it. It's
Absolutely.
pressure. Uh, and it's crazy. And that water has to travel continuous all the way to the face of the mine where they're mining because that's part of the fire suppression also. They have these the miner is got a big roller teeth on them. Some of them like a long waller, it works like a printer and it goes back and forth and it's got these big cutters on it. But as it's cutting through the rock and getting the coal out, you're going to hit pockets of methane, and all mines are gassy mines, so there's always a prospect. But the water coming out of those heads has to stay flowing because it puts the fires out, extinguishes the fire as you're mining coal. So there's not a huge explosion. You can't have a bunch of methane building up and then ignite it with the cutting heads, with the carbide heads. So you have to keep that water pumping to the face, and then you use it for other things on the way down. Even it's really complicated, brothers.
So this
Look.
water, I just got a question. So you're
Go
saying
ahead.
you have water flowing at all times on the cutting head. So
Yeah.
typically, as we know, the fire sprinkler line is a static line. It's not movement. Is there if it's needed. Are is this water that's flowing? Are you talking about a separate independent line? Like
Yeah,
let's say a domestic line and then the fire line static, right?
exactly. Yes, sir. Yeah. Once it
Okay.
comes to your pressure reducing valve and gets it to 200 psi, you have your check valves. You have flow. You have your flow switches. All that is rigged up right there at the crosscut where the PRV is, and then you pipe it from that valve to your overhead, and that's what I started out as a seismic hanger. That's what we do. Is you got to bolt your heads. You got to hang your heads on roof bolts. Now there's roof bolts every 4 feet, and you're welcome to uh, to put your all thread and hang your pipe on those roof bolts. But sometimes you just can't get it. You know, you got to have them spaced so far apart. You know, they all got to be 4 feet apart while you're above the belt right there. So sometimes you hit a spot where there's no roof bolts. So that's what you got to do. You take your hammer drill and you got some epoxy and you roof bolt it and an eye bolt. And we got
Whoa. That's
so
wild. So how now when you go in
and
there, how wide are these openings at all
they're
times?
80. Well, they're 40 feet in the travel ways, and there's 80 feet pillars. So every 80 feet, you have a travel way or air, and that's part of your air, which is another more fire suppression is your air control plan. They have a giant fan up top side. I mean, I'm talking about a giant fan now. It's 3 stories high that blows air through, and you got to have like 900 CFM at the face. So you got your little meter, and you go out there and you got to check, make sure you. And what you do is you brattice those off. You got these curtains that go between the cross cuts that will guide the air to make sure you can get that air volume all the way through the mine and back. And that helps evacuate any gas that might build up. But there is times where you'll be on the belt and you'll be because you got to cover the bearings at the belt. And there's one place that's on that belt that's kind of enclosed. It's got steel all welded together above the bearings right there where the main bearing goes on the drive belt. And I stuck my head up in there one time and I was trying to screw my head in. I was trying to get everything screwed together, and I got real confused, and I didn't understand what was happening, why I couldn't start the threads, and then I came down out, and I went to my knees. I was like, "What the hell just happened?" Well, the methane could build up in little pockets, and if you got to watch, because you got a gas detector that
Right.
you can up in there.
So you keep the gas, like checker. You keep it on your shoulder, or
No,
it's
there's
like
usually there's one. They're hard to come by, especially in the coal mine, because they're all beat up, and your mine, your section boss usually got one, and we've taken them. We've had one that the company supplied us, but for the most part, we
so I've
don't
had
do it
one.
like we.
Brian, are you on your mic or are you on your? It sounds like you're on your laptop mic and not like your regular mic. You got a
Can
little
you hear me
echo.
now?
You're on your laptop mic and not your regular mic probably.
Like both? Let me see.
It sounds like you're coming from your laptop. Paul, you got some goats in the background?
Talk, dude,
You got goats in the background right
y'all
now,
don't
Paul?
even understand.
I hear goats, bro.
No, they're not.
What is it?
All right.
They're
How about now? Does this
Yeah,
sound better?
there you go. Now I like it.
All right. Good. Good.
Good. Hold on. What about the
So,
goat? What
but
about the
so
goats, Paul?
Man, this is crazy, y'all. Look here. I work for the road, right? And a lot of times I do flow testing, like for municipalities and things like that. So I go travel around. I do like flow testing of hydrants and all that kind of junk because it's pretty gravy, and I could be by myself, and I'm getting old, and but anyhow, I'm out here. I bought years ago. I bought a piece of land out here in the national forest in the Nantahala National Forest, and I come back and forth from here, and that's where I'm sitting right now, y'all. I got a camp right here with bears. Now, these months,
Bears.
look,
Oh, you're in
you
the
see back
woods.
yonder?
Oh yeah, I
that's a
Oh, there
see.
you go.
flashlight, bro.
But what kind of animals do I hear right now? I hear something behind you.
Yeah,
Huh?
those are Katy and
Buddy's just out in the woods.
Oh, it's the bugs. Yeah.
I'm, I'm deep up in the mountains of
Damn.
the
That's
Apple
cool.
Smoky.
He's got bugs that sound like goats.
That's cool. I get what you're saying, but yeah, they're really loud.
My
Those
wife and
bugs.
I, my wife and I. Plus, I got you propped up on my hoe right here, so yeah, I got a nice background. It'll catch the mic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you do all kind of stuff. But oh yeah, don't be surprised at all. You'd be like, Schumann, there's a bear right there, because they come and visit quite often. Especially if my wife makes like a pizza or some popcorn or something. Um, I told her
What kind of bear though? Like a grizzly? A
big
brown
giant
bear?
black bear, son, 600 pounders. I got one
Oh,
You
at each
say
flow
brown
out
bear?
here. No, black bear,
Yeah,
dude.
I mean
black
a
bear.
black
Giant,
bear.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Damn.
black bears are not a big deal, but I mean you're up there. So I mean y'all have brown bears too, right?
they'll peel the doors off of your car. Yeah, my
Whew.
wife, we was out there. She used to work one morning. There was a big giant one out there, and she's like, "Man, I got to leave for work." And I said, "Well, mash mash the lock and unlock the light flash on your car." So she mashed it, and it didn't really phase it. So I said, "All right, hit that panic button, see what happens." She hit that panic button, bro. This something stood up like 8 feet high in front of my wife's car and was looking at it. And I told her, "Stop, stop, stop." It looked like it wanted to tear her car to pieces. Now these things they're
Oh,
huge.
man. Yeah.
Mountain
I
Man
live in what
Paul.
I live in a bear sanctuary. And this is no shit, man. I live in a bear sanctuary. I stay in a bear sanctuary. It's called the Wyatt Bear Sanctuary.
He's like
Look it up,
looking
man.
around. He's scared there's gonna be.
Yeah.
Is there a bear?
We're over here. Hey, me and Bobby over here in our little like
Oh.
Yeah, right.
cubby areas and inside, and you're over there might get eaten by a bear. Like
Yeah,
it's totally a different
I
world
got
there.
your six, Paul. I got your six.
Redneck for life. Yeah, just it's dark back there, but
So there's
look,
Yeah,
man.
we'll keep an eye out.
there's one 1500 psi line that goes down
Or more.
sometimes over 1,000 feet, and that's giving you water to keep the dust and the cooling down, and also fire protection, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
That's a lot of pressure in that bad boy. How do you get down there in the morning?
No, dude, that's a whole thing, bro.
All
I'll tell you
right,
what,
let us have it. How do you do it?
this is how my day goes. You show up with all your rig, your tools. I got
What time are you getting us? What time are you getting there? Like
oh, you
5
gotta be
a.m.?
10:45, get checked in, and then everybody got to go through your mine safety class real quick. Uh, and see what in my situation, I work in all the coal mines, dude. Wherever they're making coal, that's where I got to go. So from
Mm.
Michigan to New Mexico to West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, wherever there's coal coming out the ground, that's where I go because
Damn.
that's and see what they do
Oh,
is
really?
they pre build all these systems and they ship them out. So it could be 6 8 months a year before I get back to around to where my materials are. So they'll deliver the materials from Grantsville, Maryland, to say Benwood, West Virginia, at the slope where they could take supplies in the mine. Then it'll sit down there in the yard by the river for like 3 months, and then they'll call you one day and it's like, we got your PRV down there, uh, and it's ready to be installed. So they have to deliver this giant thing on the railroad tracks down through there. The same, but like some of it, like Benwood, and brother, let me tell you something, man. I work with some of these old cats that's like on their way out of the coal mine. It's in their 70s, man. They're trying to get retired, and that's who escorts me around the mine because I'm always by myself mostly. Um, and you meet some of the coolest old cats, man. I mean, I met this dude like this one I'm talking about in Benwood. So Benwood, West Virginia is over there on the Ohio line, and by Wheeling, West Virginia, and the Grand Ole Opry down there. So I go down to the yard and I meet the guy down there, my escort, and we get on a man trip and we go in this old. It's like a cave, man. It's like all old wood timbers holding it up. The old part of the mines. Because what happens is once they mine so far in, then they got to put a new slope in miles down the road because it's not cost efficient for to move people and materials so far from the source of the coal. So, but
Right.
this particular mine I went into, we rode in and we rode for an hour, bro. And then he taps on the top of the man trip, and these old man trips are like trolleys. They run on DC, 500 volts DC. And it just got a little spring thing. So every once in a while it'll fly off, and then you got to stop and
So
put it back.
you're sitting exposed to the cave, and
Oh yeah.
you're going
Oh,
down a
This
slight
but this
incline.
also sounds like all the old black and white pictures I would see, and then any of the kind of like video or pictures of how it was like always. You're in a trolley, all this like old technology, old ways of doing this. You're saying it's the same. Like there's no real like advancements.
some of the newer mines out west, like especially in like Michigan and some of the bigger mines, they got man trips that are Ram 1500s, and you could tow a wagon, tow all your gear on a trailer, and you pull up to the big hatch, and you ring the bell almost like you're at the drive-through, and then you tell them you're coming down, pillar, your man trip number, coming down the slope, and then they'll give you the green light. You go through the big double doors and you go down and you drive this thing, dude. It's just like a Ram 1500.
How long is the drive?
And you,
How long is the drive down the slope?
to go down the slope like in the one I'm talking about with the Ram 1500s. Uh, it's a huge mine. It's a double decker mine. So you'll go down. There's mines on top of mines. So you go down 1,200 feet. There's a mine. Go down another 900 feet. There's another mine. So there's double decker coal. There's machinery and people and everything going on under the earth in two layers. There's one coal mine on top of another one. They're vast, huge coal mines. But you ride down there and you ride down the slope and then you'll get down to a switchback and it's probably maybe 30-degree angle, something like that. And you ride down through there,
Fucking bug.
and you'll hit a little flat spot and then you'll switch back and then you'll go down another 1,500 feet. So, you could be, 2,200 feet deep in the earth.
So that's a half an
Down there.
hour. That's an hour.
It's easy,
Huh?
easy hour to get down there, and then, but see
Wow.
the real that's a good day over here in Kentucky and West Virginia where I do most of my work, Hazard, Kentucky, and all down in there. That's where they had the Hatfields and McCoys. I mean, they got a big celebration. So if you ever had to work on there, and they got bed bugs and all that stuff, just like you'd expect a bunch of hillbillies living out here. But these mines are really old, man. And there's still mom and pop mines. Just like you got a mom and pop 7-Eleven up in Boston. They got mom and pop. Mom and pop own the coal mine, and there's about 20 guys working there. But they need fire suppression just like everybody else.
Where do you poop?
And
Where do you poop when you're down there?
well, you mostly don't. You get bow trained. You just learn not to eat so much.
You don't want to. You can't. So there's
until
no bathroom in the mine.
No. There's sometimes if you got a mine that has some of them do that. Some of them got a portalet, but who the hell wants to go down there? You ain't got to ride. Once you get down there, your ride leaves you. So you're on your own, man. You're on your own. They can't just park this thing.
Yeah, I forgot my tape in the truck.
Nope, there ain't none of that shit. No sir.
I'll be right back. I gotta go grab my
Wow.
I gotta
So,
grab my
like, if you
tape.
do have to go to if you do have to go to the restroom, that
Yeah, go.
truck, your ride is an hour up. So it's a 2-hour trip. You got to hold that thing.
Yeah, yep,
Nope.
pretty much.
All right, no
Doing it
pooping in
crazy.
the mine. And you said you start at 10:45?
You gotta go, buddy. You gotta go. Sometimes you just lean against the ribs and let it turn it loose because there's nothing you can do. Kick some coal dust on it. You know what I'm saying?
Fucking love it. I love this guy.
It is a different planet. Things happen down
Wow.
there. People get hurt all the time, and it's a very dangerous place to be. But that's why it's important to mind your safety. That's one of the biggest things. See, my company, they've been 6 years with no lost time injuries, and we got over 600 employees.
They're doing
So
good. They're doing good then.
Yeah, that's really good.
look here, if you got one person gets hurt, uh, and what it does is it knocks down your safety rating. So when you go to bid a job for Consol Energy or Halliburton or something like that, if that number now it's a big giant number. It's a big number. It's got maybe a series of 20 some numbers in it, and any one of those numbers ain't right. You can't even bid the job. So you're putting a lot of people out of work in your company. If you're not working safe, if you hurt your fingers or something because you weren't wearing your metatarsal protection, uh, you can cause a lot of people not to be employed. So, and what they do is what Pillar does, my company, what they do is they pay you to be safe. So, every you can count every paycheck, you're going to get $70 for being safe. And now but what that's real clever because I see the boy over there at the bandsaw cutting pipe, and he's not got his safety goggles on, or not doing something right. But he is on. I'll tell you, because we even got safety analysts that creep around all the time with a clipboard, and they'll fine you for not clicking. You get click it or ticket if you get on the forklift and move it. You've got to put your seatbelt on and all that kind of junk. And we
So
got a safety.
There's forklifts down there.
No, not in the mine. I'm saying up top. Anything having to do with the
Oh, okay.
company. When you're on company
Okay.
time, you have to be absolutely safe because and then they pay you plus they you would be shamed of yourself if you got yourself hurt. Uh, and that's the mentality in a coal mine. If you get hurt at work, it's your fault. You did it. You were working unsafe. If you get killed, they don't mind calling your family and telling them you got killed because you weren't working safe.
You gotta be
And
safe. Be
Mm.
safe down there in the mines. Yo, what
absolutely
up,
No,
T?
absolutely. So, how's the oxygen down there? So you get down
oh,
there, you're an hour down.
well, they got, like I said, they got an air control plan that brings the fresh air from the surface down. But if they got to service the fan, dude, it's a terrible mess. You got to shut down, get all your shit back together. They got to and it takes hours to get out of the mine. It takes hours to get in there.
Can you walk
So,
out? Or can you walk out of that thing?
oh, I've had to walk out one time, and I'm a pretty big mountain dude, and I got some calves on me, right? Like genetic calves, these big calves, and the greatest thing ever. I worked with these young boys, Mennonites, right? I don't know if you know anything about a Mennonite, but they're Amish that use computers and stuff. They're like Amish engineers. That's why you won't find nothing much on. I can guarantee right now there ain't nobody on this podcast from No Pillar or Bitral Corporation because we just don't do this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's all
Right.
business with these people. And it's crazy because we got a big lab over there in Grantsville, and we test stuff. They built the first artificial coal mine. So they simulate the environment of a coal mine, and so DeWalt wants to test their impact in a coal mine, but you can't just leave it lay in a coal mine. So that's what my company does is they'll test. They test products and things in a coal mine without having to be in a coal mine. This is all right there in Grantsville, Maryland. Um, and it's on site right there. And like we do not me, but they got fiber and communications. Everything's got to be intrinsic safe. The communication boxes for the coal mines, and not just coal mines, but gas rigs. And you do get called out to put lightning rods on a gas drill site. That's fire
Whoa.
protection. Yes, sir. You got to know
Really?
your lightning rod protection. Oh, yeah, man, there's so much stuff. There's a man coming. They could put a well pad in 5 years ago. They still got to go out there and biannually check your fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher there's all kind of fire protection junk. It's a lifetime job, even if not one drop of gas comes out of that thing. Even a coal mine is the same way. It has to be inspected. Even though the coal mine is shut down, they're inspected forever. They're never closed ever. They quit bringing coal out, but the MSHA inspector has to go down there once a year and crawl back through all that stuff, and it's pretty crazy, dude. It's such I was a Marine, and I thought I was a badass till I went to work in a coal mine, and I'm telling you right now, that's the hardest shit I ever done in my life, ever, ever. It's the
What
hardest
makes
job
it
you'll ever.
hard? So we're very ignorant to this whole everything. Like, what's the hard spot?
Well, working on your knees on that big giant belt.
Oh,
Uh, putting your heads in and all that, putting your brackets up. Because see, our heads come on brackets. The heads aren't on there, but we got a big giant bracket, a steel bracket that's painted red, so we can charge more. And then it's got a big J bolt that mounts it to the steel structure of the belt that carries the coal, and that's what covers the belt right there. And the heads are maybe 4 feet, 5 feet above you, too low to stand up and too high to kneel down. So you got knee pads on, and the belt's like a V shape. So, dude,
oh,
you fight all night to stay up on top of that bullshit. And then a lot of times, and like I said, you only have from Saturday midnight to Sunday midnight. So as soon as you go down in there, it's just wrenches and grooving and all that going on. And like I said, everything's already delivered there. I don't have to carry no materials. The only thing I got to carry is I carry my rigid 300 threader and groover, in case we need to make nipples. It's always inevitable. You want to make a nipple. Don't go down there and not be able to make a nipple. And your groover, all the pipe is 2-inch groove in Victolic because you got your impact, and so you got 2 bags of tools and your tripod, your threader, all that. And so you better be a hoss, son.
So you can
I was
you can use your power tools down there.
yes. You got
Oh,
power.
okay. So can you take videos down there?
No.
Why?
No videos. It's illegal. It's a fire hazard. Your phone's a battery in it.
Yeah, but there's batteries in your tools that you're bringing down there.
Yes, there is, but
There's brushes in that
it's
machine that are making sparks every time you hit the pedal.
yes, sir. But
My
they don't
phone's not going to
allow.
cause a fire. Let's take some selfie videos down there, Paul. Come on.
No. You but you do something like that, and it's over. So it's over.
Really?
Don't even think about going back to work in a coal mine again.
Just from
I'll
one video?
one. Oh yeah, one video. The only videos you're going to see in a coal mine is like where the news crew makes an appointment and they got to go down there, and they're not actually mining when they do that. They just shut the shit down, and it's kind of acting. That's done during shutdown because it is. And if you're trying to video something, you're not being safe,
It's
right?
so is it a secrecy thing? Do they not want you to know the mine secrets, or they really think the phone's going to cause a fire?
Well, I think it's more like
They don't want us to know about what's going on down there. Maybe we all want to try to do it.
well, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
paradise down there, isn't it, Paul?
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful down there. Uh, you know, I'm not really sure, but you just do what the hell they tell you to do, and the last thing you want to do is violate some kind of rules and regulations. Where because my company depends on me to be out there representing, and if I do something retarded while I'm out there, it could affect my whole company. So
Right.
that's the last thing
So
you want to do.
we leave the phone on the surface.
Leave the phone on the surface. You can bring your chewing tobacco. Uh,
You going to bed?
eh, Pretty much that's all you can tote. You don't you can't even tote nothing else. I mean, damn, just to
Right.
bring your dinner, pain in the ass. That's one more thing.
But
But
when
see,
you hit that impact gun, isn't it making sparks?
no, no,
Come on.
no. There ain't no.
So
And besides that, it's not.
so
Pardon.
are you working like the whole 24 hours? So Saturday to
Kinda.
Sunday, midnight
I'm
to midnight, or you come back up?
to the coal mine, brother, seeing blue elephants in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? So they have drivers for us.
Blue
'Cause
elephants.
yeah, dude, you've been working so long, you're just hallucinating. It's
Is you're
brutal.
working? You're saying you're working 24 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, not you hope not, but you better be done within 24 hours. We've been down to the wire where the top's calling down and say, "Are y'all done? Everybody's got to be off the belt. Everybody's got to be clear when they start that belt up." And they'll tell you that if you're on that belt when it come midnight Sunday, son, you're going to be burned up in the coal plant because in the power plant because they don't stop mining coal for nothing that's not inside of that 24 hours. Now they'll tell you they lose $8,000 a second every second that they're not moving coal. Every second that belts down. So you don't want to be responsible for that neither.
Eight
Uh,
thousand a second. That's a good number.
yeah, dude, it's
8,000
a lot higher than that,
a
but
second.
bringing out
A
hundreds of,
second.
millions of tons.
And you guys are following NFPA 120
Yes,
for
yeah,
the most
which
part.
doesn't supersede anything. What it's just guidelines, I mean, and a lot of the things that we do are that's why we're innovations because we're on the forefront of the technology and the materials to accomplish what we need to do in a timely manner. So that's why we're so popular in the coal business, is because we got no shutdown time. It's like we could get you back up and running with your sprinkler, with your fire protection and everything, because we're all well trained. And while you're not in the coal mine, you're in school taking classes, Tyco classes. You're rebuilding pressure reducing valves or or taking the Victolic school, or it's always something. And then see, they what they do is I got a CDL because I got my truck's over 13,000 pounds. So whenever you got to go through the weigh stations, and so you're constantly representing. So what they do is, because I work 21 hours straight, I can't drive my truck. So they have to provide me with a driver if I work so many hours on, where I'm not driving. So you got a logbook that you fill out, and that's how you decide how you can know when you can work and when you can't. So your schedule is pretty much made around Saturday evening schedule, and then when I go on Monday, I'll come back and I make my reports and I turn in the paperwork and all that kind of junk. And they just want to know how everything went and all that kind of thing, and then through the week, you're building, because they build rescuers, the refuge chambers that go in the coal mine. They build them right there in Grantsville, Maryland. They'll have they can accommodate 10 people for 30 days, and they're stocked with oxygen and water. And once you still up in that, it's over. Because I mean, if you're in a situation where you have to take refuge in this thing, you got to expect there's food and water enough to last you a while. Uh, and
What's a
those
while?
things,
Like, what is, like, let's say, code if you have to survive? Like, what do they have to provide?
there ain't no code for surviving, brother. You better hang on.
So what'd you
You
say?
know,
You said 10 days about?
you got 30 days for 10 men,
Oh, 30
enough
days for 10 minutes.
water,
Huh.
oxygen, something like that.
Where's the water coming
Uh,
from?
little packages like space water, like you'd find on the space shuttle. They're little
Oh,
bags.
wow.
There's a little safety hut that they bring down there, Brian. He could survive in there for 30 days if he had to.
It's all right.
Whoa.
Lay down, and you could try one. We had to spend a night in one over there at the lab. They got one over there that you can spend a night in. It's pretty intense because it's only maybe like sitting under your kitchen table. And there's no, you
What
got to
about
lay down.
light? Like, something happens, you
Oh,
could
it's a
lose light and then you're screwed.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's basically how it goes. I mean, there's been in my day since I've been there, we had the Upper Big Branch disaster where methane inundated the mine and it killed 29 miners and collapsed a bunch more. But they're amazing. The fire and rescue, mine rescue people. These cats are unbelievable. They're like they're like paramilitary men, and they'll drill a hole, dude, and they can know where you're at. Now you got trackers on your hard hat, so they can know who's out there. It's like a big bingo screen when you step out when you go in the mine. You got to look up there and see if your number's lit up on your and see if your name's up there, just like at the airport or something, because your tracker's got your name with it, and it's just a little tiny tracker, and it goes on your hard hat, and they can kind of know what area you're in. But in some situations up in PA, they had one flood, and the men were trapped up in the upper part of a branch of the coal mine, and they drilled a hole down through this cow pasture up above, like 800 feet or whatever, and then a 2 inch hole, and they rung it, buddy. They nailed them. They were right there in that air pocket, and they sent a note up, and it said send chewing tobacco. You've been down here for weeks. They said, please just send us some chewing tobacco, please. And then they send up letters. You write letters to your people in case you don't make it out. And then uh yeah, it's pretty dangerous junk, And I was in there when the Super Bowl shut down, the power went out. I don't even know what it was, like down in Louisiana or something. During the Super Bowl at halftime, the power went out. And that's what we do as coal miners, is keep the lights on for America.
Wow.
Because
Right.
so when the power went out, I get out off work that night, and I come back up, and I was getting in my truck, or I got back to the hotel, and everybody was wanting their money back, because the power went out and they got ripped off, and I was like, man, people just don't
If you
appreciate.
only knew, you're right. If you only knew
Me,
what you just went through to keep the lights on, people don't appreciate it because people don't understand.
Yeah, don't
It's the
understand it.
same thing with like building managers or owners or anything like that, not taking fire protection seriously.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to force people to be safe. Unfortunately, if you want results from people, even your employees or people around you, you got to press people to do better. I mean, you can't get wine from a grape if you don't press it. You know, you can't get the wrinkles out of your shirt if you don't press it. You can't get results from people if you unless you press them. You know, you got to press them to do the right thing. Because if they're going to make a decision, they're going to make the wrong one. I guarantee it every time. So people need guidance. They don't, and they need understanding. Uh, you know, the fire protection business is not just about coal or apartments or hospitals. It's about everything. I mean,
It is.
water, fire are the two most destructive forces on this planet, and they kill people all the time and destroy property, and but you have to keep up with all this and always keep in your mind you got to be safe at all times yourself because again, we don't want nobody to get hurt, especially we need all the sprinkler fitters we can get. And the last thing we need is somebody get injured and have to go on disability or something like that because they hurt their neck or their back or something. They weren't working safe. They weren't 100% tied off. And that's where the rules get really strict in the coal mines because, dude, this 100% tie off junk, even if you go above the third rung on a ladder, you have to be tied off 100%, which means you got
That shit
one
rules,
lanyard,
dude.
and
Sorry.
then once you move up, you got to clip another lanyard on before you can move to the next level. So you got to be
Wow.
100% times on the belt, and it's aggravating wearing all that gear because you're dressed out like you're going to the freaking moon because you got your life rescuer behind you, your little thing that, and just in case you get trapped up, they give you 30 minutes of breathing time. Uh, you got I got canteens, your mine belt, your coveralls. You got to have long sleeves, gloves, eye protection, your hard hat, dude. It's telling you, it's just like being an astronaut and work, but
Man,
having to get out there.
that's man work or woman work if you're done, but that's like that's
Women are
hard work, man.
we're getting
What's the
we
temperature like? What's the temperature like down in there?
the Earth is so hot. It does get really hot sometimes, but then it depends on where you're at too. It does get cold, but for the most part, it's really hot and muggy. And you got all these mud pumps that work off of air that's pumping mud and water. And I had to walk out a slope one time. I forgot that. And I worked with these Mennonite boys. Well, they're good, strong farm kids, you know, and they're real dedicated to their job. And I'm walking out there, and we had to walk out the slope. We had to evacuate, whether it was a drill or whether it was whatever. Anything can happen. So they set off the alarms to evacuate. So I didn't want to leave my tool bags. I'm like, man, I'm not leaving my wrench down there. I don't know if I'll ever be back. It ain't like I work here. You know, once I come out of there, it's hard for me to get back. So you might lose my tools. Well, I tried dragging my tool bag up there, and boys, I'm going to tell you something. When you look up there and it's 1,500 feet, it's like a quarter mile, and it's an opening the size of a garage door, a single garage door, and that's what they call the slope. And a lot of times it's an old slope where the mine first started back in the 40s. They'll convert that to an evacuation slope. But yeah, I had to go up there, and I got these big mine boots on up to my knees, and boys, I got halfway up there, and I couldn't move my legs, my calves. I got these big Appalachian hillbilly calves, and they were splitting out. I got where I couldn't, boy, I was cramping up. I couldn't even move my legs. And that boy got behind me. One of them, dude, he got behind me. He grabbed my mine belt and he leaned into my big ass. He said, "Just go, Schumann." And I was like, "Come on, man, just go without me." He said, "I'm not leaving you, man." And he got down in the small of
Wow.
my back. And I'll tell you, by the time I got to the top, I felt guilty as hell, but I felt myself just easing off and letting him push me. You know what I'm saying? It, it's so tough, man. It's so tough, but I'm old, so now I'm just laid back. I don't do too much of that shit no more, like the hanging of the things and all that stuff. I do my flow testing with the fire marshal, and he could dig through my burlap sack and find a couple of pebbles or something like that. And it's like, man, I could kill a whole day with that. You know what I'm saying? And but sometimes you get into things like I did one. It was a huge. Anytime you're around wood cabinet factories or even lumber yards, you got a giant fire pump, but they got for the insurance purposes, you got to have them flow tested. You got to flow test your hydrants, and some of these hydrants are 1,500 psi, dude, and it rocks the world. Them light blue ones. If you ever see them,
1,500.
Yeah, blue.
1,500,
That's.
Yeah, blue
1,500.
hydrants are 1500s.
Yes,
I want to
dude.
flow that so bad.
You hear me? I don't know if you've ever got to flow one of these things, but I've flowed two of them, and I'm going to tell you, I about peed my pants. You get that thing wide open, and dude, it take an hour to open it, right? Because it goes 40 miles up to under the town of the college town of it'll go up under Statesville, Pennsylvania. It this main water main that's feeding this hydrant way down there 40 miles from there. They're pumping water. If something goes wrong, there's no getting it back, dude. There's no changing nothing. It could kill you. Well, I was out there flowing this thing and see all the county commissioners come out. You'll see a bunch of people with suits on out there to observe the flow of the thing. And I asked the guy, I was like, what are those people? He said they trying to get their hours. They have to observe, like the guys that work at the water plants and the treatment plants and all that, they have to get their hours in. So they have to witness a 1,500 being flow tested.
Oh,
So you get out there and you open this thing and it takes you 30 minutes. You got to go real slow because you can't let it hammer. If you let it hammer, especially shutting it off, it can explode the street down in Morgantown, West Virginia. Just blow the
Holy
whole.
shit, that's freaking crazy.
It'll hydraulic and it'll hammer and it'll just explode in the street. There's videos of it happening.
So have you ever seen a
Uh,
big flood? What you got any flood stories?
well, my only good flood story was my bank story where I was under inspection. The fire marshal was there. My boss man was there. The bank people was there. I mean, it was a
Uh-oh.
pretty big. And, we had scaffold up, and we got all our sprinklers roughed in, and it was aired up. We put 100 psi water, 100 psi air on it. So we got the 200 psi sitting on it, and everything was going good. And then the one dude, and of course the fire marshal's right there. It, and it's not like getting a little house inspected downtown. This is a big to do. I mean, you go inspecting stuff like this, commercial, industrial stuff, and the fire marshal, he's a busy dude, and I didn't even know this, but he sits out at the way station. He checks for dynamite. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this guy does all kind of stuff, and we're super busy. So to try to schedule him in there to witness your flow test, because you flow test it right out, right under your clapper valve on your main coming in, and you have to make sure there's no rocks in it. So you bag it. You got to run it through a burlap sack. But I was up there, and the dude's like, "Is that a leak over there?" And I looked over on the floor, and I seen a drip of water hit, and I looked up there. Now it's probably about 30 feet up in the air. It's got scaffold built that we had built the scaffold, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll get it. I just need to touch it. I think I see it sitting on that thing." I didn't want to fail, and I didn't want to have to reschedule another thing just from a little tiny leak. But it was not 100%, and it was dripping. It was real slow, but it was only a thimbleful on the ground. I jumped up there. I wasn't tied off. I wasn't minding my safety stuff, and I was in front of my boss and the fire. Everybody was out there, and I just scurried up that scaffold, and I ran out there, and I had my impact with my driver on it, and I reached up there, and I thought I could just tighten it, just a couple of clicks, just because I think maybe I just didn't tighten it enough. Because I
right,
did kind
right.
of look at the threads. I'm like looking at the threads, and I'm like, on that 2-inch Vic, I'm like, it kind of looked like it could go down a little more. So dude, I pulled that trigger, and it just clicked one time, and the whole thing exploded. Boom!
Whoa.
And the coupling blew apart. The 2-inch. Man, of course, we just had it. We just had pressure on it in the water. So I mean, it
Right.
wasn't that solid, but still, it hit me in the face and it knocked me back. And I just caught myself on the scaffold. So, needless to say, we had to reschedule an inspection.
Oh, I've done this.
That's
My
tough.
boss was
I've
like,
done
let's just go out.
I've
I've
done
seen it at
this.
a. Where were you, Bobby, when you did it?
I've done this so many times. Just put an impact on a leaky coupling and tightened up some more. I've taken a 3-pound sledgehammer and beat these couplings to make them stop leaking. I've never, I've never had one break. That's crazy. I've been up there just hammering, and I got the big beefy impacts too. I'll just be up there hammering that thing till it stops dripping.
Like hung off of them to get them squared up. They'll pivot back and forth. They swivel. Uh, but yeah, I don't know what the hell if I didn't have if the rubber was twisted in there. I don't know. I don't know if the groove wasn't right.
That baby
'Cause,
was
we
already
do.
tight. She was tight, tight.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was too tight. Is what I think. And something.
Wow,
Who knows? Think of the pipe. But
barely
man,
hanging on.
Granny said I could talk a rat out of a dumpster. I could just and see, and that's an amazing thing about running into y'all. I've never seen this before. I've been in this business for a long
Really?
time. I've never even talked to nobody about it. And I tried putting stuff up before, but people want to see the bear chewing the garage door off. You know what I'm saying? And or you out there dancing or something like that. And I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm 60 years old, bro. I'm not dancing or nothing. And
You know how to make some dancing TikTok videos for us, Paul?
there'd be some break dancing out here in the gravel
Do
with
some.
the
You
bear.
gotta do some viral TikTok dancing down in the mine. Just one video for us.
Yeah, no, that's probably
I'm just
not.
fucking. I'm just fucking with you, Paul.
I
But
know, but yeah,
that's the reason why we started this is for the community, to create relationships and fire protection, and not just with our circle, but also for other people that meet other people and share what they're doing and have a place to come.
I was so excited to come on here and just tell somebody what I'm doing, because it's a lonely racket when I'm in. I don't never see nobody. I'm staying in hotels by myself. I report to coal mines all over the place, and but not so much anymore that I'm into that. But yeah, I'm up there at chief status now, so I don't really have to. I'm not really the grunt like I used to be, but plus I'm half the man I used to be. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
You're doing some
uh,
rare. I think you're doing some rare shit, Paul. There's not a lot of people that are working down in coal
Yeah,
mines.
yeah, not a lot of
Especially
people
doing
down there at
swingers.
all.
I mean, you're the first coal
By the way,
miner guy I
I
know.
think a lot of you guys, like everybody needs to YouTube coal mines and see what it's like. We'll see what it looks like down there. I mean, of course, you can't have the smell. You can't be on your
all the
knees all day on a ground that's a shape of a V. I mean, you can't just be like what
well, when I first started
hurting
it,
all day.
I got sitting down there because back to how we get in, you got to ride the man. You got to ride a man lift. You got 30 guys on an elevator going down. Plus, you got to wait on the. You got to wait on it because right there at the shift change when you're going in. So you get the guys that are coming out of the mine. They work there all day. You got to let them come out. You can't put tools on the man lift. So you got to send the man down with the escort to the bottom. Once you get on the bottom, you get off. You send the man trip back up. And then I'll put my tools on there, my threader, my groover, my all my bags and all
Right,
that. Put
right,
on there, and then send it down there. They take it off of the lift because you can't travel on the lift with tools.
Oh
It's
wow.
only for men, only for personnel. So you can't get on there with tools. So you have to send that shit down, dude. An hour later, an hour and a half, and finally you get down there and you meet up with your boys. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh shit. Then you go through and then you go. You got to wait on a man trip. You got to wait on a ride to the section you're working in. So you'll go sit down there, and there's benches down there, and it's lighted. You do got fluorescent lights right there, and at the power center you'll have fluorescent lights, but that's it. Everything else is your cap light and battery, and which that shit's an intrinsic safe. It's called intrinsic safe. It's designed not to shed no sparks like your impacts and things like that.
right, right.
Unless it's malfunction or something. If you shove some I don't know something in it or you get it wet, maybe it might spark. But all that stuff is designed to be intrinsic safe, so you can work with it. The battery stuff, even your cap light and all that. But hell, they used to use uh water. You use water and carbide and light a little candle. I mean, it was a little burning flame, which they found. If you run, that's dangerous. I mean, you could kill everybody in the mine. It just blows up. I mean, you got no choice. You don't. Methane has no smell, no color, no taste, no nothing. It's completely invisible, and you can run into it. And when you see your boy fall out, you can't even help him, man. You're not to go over there.
So you don't bring parrots down there anymore?
No, they don't have that shit, but they got our gas detectors, that keeps up with it, and that's part of the airflow control system.
You work with
Uh,
guys that used to bring parrots down there?
oh no, no, that that
That
that's
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 that's way old school.
yeah, I'm not. That's pretty old school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Excuse my ignorance. I don't know. I'm just I know that I seen it in the cartoons.
we're beyond that right there. And then of course the unions keep the kids out of the coal mine and all that kind of thing. Is back even in my grandfather's day. My grandfather was a coal miner. Uh, he was American Indian that belonged to the Wino Coal Company in Wheeling, West Virginia. He was indentured. He was like adopted by the back then. The company could adopt orphan kids, and then they put them into work in the coal mine. But that's how we got our unions. That's what unions were brought from, was to keep underage people and the elderly out of the coal mines with the child labor stuff. But one important thing, I wanted to make sure I told y'all this. Um, like I said, I like rocks, and I got rocks everywhere. Boy, I got rocks everywhere. If I see a good rock, I just keep it around close to me. And that's why I was like, man, I was so excited to go see the coal and what it's made of, and it's just complete. It's like another planet. You'll have trees that are turned to coal, because coal is an old swamp. It's an old swamp,
Oh wow.
fern trees, palm trees that got covered over millions of years ago with rock, and then it turns it into coal. So that's what coal is. A lot of times you can see plants and ferns and fossil materials that's in there because it's an old swamp. And a lot of times they'll be going along mining, and you'll see a big circle of coal in the top because it's mostly granite. They get all the coal out of there. So you'll have a seam of coal that's maybe 48, 50, 100 inches or whatever. Some of them are real small seams of coal, 20s in the 20-inch range where you got to crawl back through there. But yeah, it's like being under your kitchen sink. It's ridiculous. The man trips, you got to lay down, and
Wow.
it's usually the older mines out in eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, around that area. Those old coal mines, they're just small seams, and it's like working with the dwarves, because they get paid good money to be a little guy. Big
Oh
people
yeah,
don't.
right. Yeah, 'cause they can fit in that little thing, man. This has been great. I can't believe it's already been an hour.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
It's already been an hour, Paul. You
So hey
just told
Paul,
us a bunch
we
of shit
we
that we didn't know.
definitely want to have you on because I still have tons of questions.
Yeah, there's so many answers. There's
Yeah,
so many things.
yeah, we're
I mean, we just barely scratched the surface. But one thing before we go, I wanted one quick thing. My first trip down in the coal mine, like I said, I really loved the rocks, and I was into this shit. And I'd already had some classes, and you got to get your mine card. And so I took the test, and you couldn't tell me nothing about no coal mine because I was studying it. I was really into it, and I didn't want to
Right.
mess this up. Get down there in one of my first jobs, and I was in the coal mine, and it was in Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, above Pittsburgh, and they're famous for their anthracite coal. Anthracite coal is a really hard, high BTU coal, uh, and they actually have to mix it with the bituminous coal, and they step on it to make it right for the coal plant. So this, I mean, I step on it, I'm talking like some kind of gangster, but they mix it. They have to powder it and mix it, and that's how they burn it in the coal plant. Well, I'm up in there in this one mine, and they had that anthracite coal, and anthracite coal is amazing. It's like almost gem quality coal, like jet. It's called jet, and
Wow.
it's almost opalescent. And so I'm sitting there, and we're waiting on the trip, and I was with my escort. He's an old timer, And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my cap light, and he's eating a can of beanie weenies. And he said, you know what that is right there, boy? And I said, yes, sir, that's anthracite coal. I was like, oh, it's fun. Somebody finally get to answer a question. He said, no. He said, well, I mean, what is it? And I said, well, it's coal, dude. And he said, no. I said, I need to know, do you really know what it is? I said, no, I give up, man. He said, what you're holding in your hand right there, son, is sunlight.
Is
Petrified.
light?
It's the plants. The plants sequester the sunlight in their leaves. Then it gets covered up in the leaves. All that debris turns to coal. Well,
What?
when you light a
That's
piece of
wild.
when you light a piece of coal on fire, you see fire coming out of it, right? That's not fire.
Yeah.
That's the sunlight escaping. You just created a pathway for the sunlight to escape there. The BTUs come out of the coal. That's the sunlight that was trapped in there millions of years ago. And when you initiate a fire, you initiate the sunlight to escape from the coal.
Damn, Paul.
What?
You're hitting us with it. You're hitting us with the that shit
I
was
had to hit.
crazy.
You're burning sunlight, dude. Natural gas, same way. It's ancient plankton that was turned into natural gas, and it's sunlight.
I'm never gonna
It's
think of coal the same again.
Yeah,
No,
you
no
should.
way.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, you shouldn't. It's sunlight. And I'll tell you, every time you burn a piece of wood, same way. And when you light a fire in your fireplace, that's the sunlight that tree sequestered inside of there. And when you light a fire, you're allowing those BTUs from the sun to escape from it. It's not fire; it's sunlight. All
That's
right, guys.
interesting.
That's crazy.
I, we didn't field no questions. I don't know who's in here.
Sequestered. I just googled the word sequestered. It's isolate and hidden away.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
100%.
is hidden away in
The sun is hidden away in there. Paul, this has been great. This was awesome.
Thank you.
That was like
I just
that was like philosophical there at the end.
Yeah, I had to leave you with something to chew
Yeah.
on. You know,
I'm gonna have to make a
Yeah,
sound bite
you had
out
to
of
leave
that
us
one.
with like, what?
What? Do we appreciate you coming on? We appreciate your support.
Thank you so much.
That's a great hat you got on right there.
yeah, dude, I love this thing. I
Give it-
sleep in it.
Give us a point, Brian. Give us a point to the top. Let them know where it's at. Huh? Get your merch now.
Right here.
Right above Brian.
Right here.
That's
Right
it.
here. Yeah, he got it right there.
That's it,
Hey,
baby. Right across. You gotta do more like one of these, Brian. Like at the top. You know, make it
Yeah,
I like that, kid. Now you're getting
Yeah.
it, huh?
There's
If you want to get a hat,
things
like
you
Paul, like me,
hat, shirt,
Brian has a
tote,
hat. Every
gym
time
bag.
Brian has a hat, he gives it away. So we gotta get Brian another hat. Don't forget to hit the like button.
Yeah,
That
I gotta get
helps.
another
Hit the
hat.
share button. Oh, we got a subscriber out of the deal today. 446 on our way to 500.
awesome.
This has been great.
We're
really close.
We appreciate all you guys for your comments. Listen, I was just blown away by Paul. So if I didn't read your comment, you know, I'm sure you could just see. I see you guys all in here though. I see you guys all run up the comments. Thank you so much. Yeah, imagine if Paul had a GoPro. That's what I'm saying, man. I would.
I'm on a burner phone. You hear me?
Oh yeah. It's Mountain Paul, baby. All right, thank you everybody.